and thank you for tuning in. That's it. If you guys want to contribute our topics, have any questions, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we are doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. Now let's jump right into it. For today, we have a special topic for social media trends and its dangers. And of course, we have Johan here with us again. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm a very new guest in this life. Uh,
Okay. So, for this edition of the Reality Bang, Johan and I will be having a discussion regarding social media trends and its dangers and give you guys a better viewpoint of this entire topic. So, my very first question is going to be, so, what are these trends in social media and why do they keep changing? Why are they not constant?
One thing is trends is like it's unpredictable, right? Trend, that is
Yeah.
one thing. We I think before talking about social media trends, I think we need to bring out one thing. Trends is completely unpredictable. I don't think trend is something that is that can you can anticipate that this is going to be something that's going to have a huge impact.
Yeah.
So and it's something that gains widespread attention and engagement. That is what really trend is. Similar to how we have a haircut becomes a trend, right? And how like a clothing fashion becomes a trend. In the
Yeah.
70s, bell bottom was a fashion, and then later on the fashion went. Now it's coming to trend again. Like when we were kids, do you remember like spike used to be a fashion
Yeah.
hairstyle?
Like they used to have these
Yeah.
mohawks and all of that.
Yeah, and now if you look, it's so cringy, right? To look back at that
Yeah.
hairstyle now. Yeah, so the thing is, like, that time it was a cool thing, it was a trending thing, and now if you look back, it just seems like a very peculiar hairstyle. But then it's also a lot to do with the time. Back in the day, I mean, back in the day means like 10 years back, that was a cool aesthetic look. Now it has changed. So I feel like trends, how they how trends changes also, I think it's a lot to do with, like, as I think as world evolves, as culturally, and how everything evolves, how people start consuming things and those things change. I think that itself plays a huge role, in how uh, trends itself change. And that the same thing goes with social media. Just like I mentioned, our hairstyle and fashion itself have a change in trends. That exact same way. There's trends in social media. Trends in social media, in a sense, like it's a lot to do with challenges, it's a lot to do with the videos, it's the kind of music that they use, it's some sort of dance videos also. Like, people are not even dancers. Like, if there is a dance video that goes on trend, because it's a trend, because it's engaging, because they know they can pull in a large number of audience, and that will boost up their whole the branding, they will do that sort of trend.
Yeah.
How it becomes predictable, sorry, I mean, like, how trend becomes a thing. I think a lot, it has a lot to do with, like, sometimes I feel like influencers and celebrities also play a big role in how it becomes trend. I feel like, if some one of them end up doing a trend, and that famous person does the trend and another famous person ends up doing that trend, that itself ends up becoming a thing. Maybe even another person who's not a celebrity, they themselves can make the trend popular. But that,
Yeah.
I think, that should be some sort of, like, some sort of a shock value, I think, and some sort of an emotional shock value. That should be some sort of a thing that should it should evoke some sort of an emotion in us. It can be happy or some emotional sort of a thing, or it's some nostalgic kind of a thing that brings out in us. That some sort of a relatability has to be there in all these trends. Without
Yeah.
relatability, I don't think trends can have some sort of popularity. So how it becomes is, I think, also algorithms also is the one thing, right? Because
Yeah.
like how trends end up becoming how trends end up becoming a huge thing. The moment it gains attention, algorithm also pushes those videos to more users. It caters according to what is gaining more attention. That, and I think also because of rapid content creation, I think
Yeah.
because content creators keep experimenting on trends itself so much that different sort of trends itself end up coming out due to those experimentation itself. So I think because of that, new trends also end up coming. But I think trends also will change from places to places. What is working in one country may not work in another place, right? I mean,
Exactly.
one universal thing that worked was during COVID. I think in
Hmm.
terms of trend, we saw. I think COVID was at was. I think COVID at you saw trend at its peak during COVID.
Yeah.
Like for example, Dalgona coffee became a thing during COVID, if you remember. How many
Yeah.
songs became a thing? How many challenges ended up becoming a thing during COVID? Also, like people say, like a lot of people who didn't even sing, just would start putting out, singing videos. So I think it's also to do with the time. I think if a movie, so if a meme is coming out, let's say if a meme is becoming a trend, I think it's also do with, let's say, a movie that's coming out during that time. I think when Oppenheimer and Barbie came out, the whole Barbenheimer sort of polar opposite sort of trends, memes were coming out, right? And
Yeah.
like that, I think it's a lot to do with the time also. Those stuff that what is more what is the most hot topic in the world at the time. Those things, if you convert that into like challenges, if you convert that into like memes and videos, they also work out. So these are like how trends, I feel, like evolve, and how trends become a trend, I feel.
Of course. Now, I mean, many of these trends they don't really become popular without the help of these influencers. Now, of
Hmm.
course, some influencers are very good, and majority of them are really not that good. So let's move on to the next question. Now, why do many influencers promote such unhealthy lifestyles? Like some project drinking, some project smoking, some project a lot of bad habits, gambling, all of that stuff. And we can take obesity for example. Now
Yeah, yeah.
they project all of this to young people out there. So why exactly do they do that, and why are so many promoting this?
See, the topic of obesity is, as an obese person myself, I think it'll be a hypocrite to sit and defend those people. But I understand what they're trying to, what the problem it's become, because it all started with body positive movement, right? And
Yeah,
that, I feel like, has become such a misunderstood, at the stuff, it's become very misunderstood over the years, I feel. The
exactly.
whole reason the body positivity is not about if you are obese, that's completely normal. It is about it all started with fat shaming. So
Yeah,
as much as being obesity is terrible for health, it's really bad for health. You cannot sit and argue with that. No
yeah,
matter how much fat shaming a person goes through, and they sit and talk about it, in the end of the day, I think they themselves know that obesity is not good for their health. But
yeah,
fat shaming, in the end of the day, it is something. If you're not an obese person, honestly, I don't think you'll ever understand how horrible fat shaming really is. because
mhm,
uh, because for in the end of the day, for the other person it's a joke, but in for that person, it can mentally, it can put them really down, it can put them in a bad place. I know so many obese people who don't have any confidence. They're not willing to, I think it puts them so much down. They're not willing to do a lot of stuff that they want to, like, to the point they wouldn't go out to like places to hangouts, to like meeting their own friends. And so many instances like this, I feel like it just isolates them in a way. And it, like, one thing a lot of skinny people will always tell is skinny shaming is as bad as fat shaming. And no, it's not. Like skinny
it's two
shaming,
different spectrums.
yeah, that's the thing. Skinny people do go through that whole, body shaming as well. But
Yeah,
obese people go through the oppressiveness that fat people do not, the skinny people don't have to go through. You
yeah,
know, we have seen obese people getting rejected, like in marriage proposals itself.
hmm,
Like a person has gotten rejected due to their obesity. And
yeah,
like, it's almost reached a point like the people end up judging that person's personality because of their obesity. And these sort of things that they go through, and it puts them in a very bad space when you don't have, when you have someone demotivating you this much. Although we know it's bad, but it's demotivating you to such a point. It does not give you any encouragement to get up and do whatever you want. That's where the body positivity came. Like, it was to basically trying to dissolve fat shaming, and for you to get up from your bed, and there are people demotivating you, but still you can get up and do what you want. That was the point of the whole body positivity. That's turned into, being fat is completely normal. I love my body
yeah,
the way it is. Those kind of stuff that people talk about. you know uh, I think that's what triggers a lot of like people, right? Like, I mean, a lot of these fitness influencers itself get triggered when they see a lot of these influencers
yeah.
promoting that kind of stuff. I feel like, one, I think it's like I said, I think it's one, it's a lot of like vulnerability, right? I think these kind of contents itself, especially for the youth, they're so vulnerable to, to feeling like insecure about their body image. So I feel like these kind of contents will do very well, especially within for the, youngsters. And also I feel like, these kind of stuff do go viral, right? uh,
Yeah,
from the traditional mainstream ideals and norms of what, is considered normal. I think it's breaking that type of a stereotype and just, showing some sort of a confidence, them doing what they want. And it's to break those sort of norms, and that is also which can get which is a risky thing that they're doing, but they are doing it. And once they take that step, it works very well for them.
yeah,
So towards the end, it is a lot of attention seeking. A lot of people do get a lot of like attention because of these kind of, videos that they put out. And also, towards the end, it's like a lot of them, apart from, the body show, apart from the, the obesity, promoting obesity, I think it's also like promoting a lot of these junk foods and products like that, right? I feel that is a very different thing. A lot of it, like if you say influencers and celebrities who are promoting like such unhealthy food, I think it's also to do with like monetization and branding. It's a lot of them end up having a lot of brand deals that will help. So those are the reasons they're promoting in the end of the day. But
yeah,
I completely, agree with the fact that people, are promoting, about, I like the body, my body the way it is. I mean, it you can love yourself, that is completely fine. But the in the end of the day, the obesity is terrible for health. You cannot sit and deny that. So I
yeah,
think you
exactly.
have to, break. You have to I think out of that, like it people don't understand how difficult it is to get up from that, and starting a completely different lifestyle. It is a very difficult it's very difficult to, completely change your lifestyle. And when you
Yeah,
see people like this, I think they feel more positive towards, the way, how their body is. And I think getting out of that sort of a mole, it's very difficult for them.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's so many influencers online, and I think they would prefer the term called plus size influencers. I mean, the term
Mm.
itself has become so different right now. So,
Yeah, yeah.
let's take two extremes of the spectrum. Okay, so there's this plus size influencer who recently, said like, why can't we get extra seats because we are plus size? And apparently,
Mm,
Southwest Airlines or something, I think that was the name of the airlines, they actually, gave it off. They were like, okay, if you're plus size, you can get an extra seat. But this ended up, being a whole reverse hit to, the normal people. Now, normal people in the sense, like people who, take care of themselves and all of that, now they lost their tickets. Okay,
mm,
like if anybody of, a person of size just came in and said like, hey, I'm a person of size, I need an extra seat in the airplane. Now,
mm.
of course, a person would have booked that seat. That person's seat had
Yeah.
to be cancelled in order to accommodate, people of size. Now,
Hmm.
we look at the total other end of the spectrum, who, I'm not sure if you know this guy by the name of David Goggins. He used to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
around, yeah, he used to be around like 310 pounds or something like that. He wanted to join the Navy SEALs. And when he eventually, like when he came to recruiter, he said like, hey, you need to lose a lot of weight, you need to come in a specific weight class. I'm not sure exactly about that story, but there was a specific weight class for that. And he had like around 60 days he had. So you can see the entire transformation he made. Now that is something entirely different. That is motivating. People call him fat, people call him a lot of things at the end of the day, but that motivated him in order to change his physique. And right now, he's the most amazing guy right now. He gives motivation, he writes good books.
Hmm.
And I mean, even when my workouts, like before I work out, I always listen to his speeches, and then that gives me all motivation to work a lot more. And let's move on to the next question, because
Wait,
this
wait.
is where,
Before moving into the next question, one thing I want to
yeah,
add on is, or when you've seen a lot of these posts like where they talk about the transformation, right? Like from obese, they're
yeah,
becoming very fit. A lot of people actually don't know this, but it is the most demotivating thing for an obese person to see that. Like actually. People don't understand how demotivating it is for them.
Exactly.
People think, it's a great thing that they're sharing their testimony. Good for you. I mean, it's great
Yeah.
that you've completely changed, and what you're doing is amazing to see. But I don't think at any point I've ever seen an obese person seeing that and getting motivated. They genuinely don't, and it's like it really makes them feel even more insecure when they see that, because in the end of the day they're talking about their journey, and yeah, seeing someone else's journey is not getting will get them to motivate and get up and do. That's why some
Yeah.
the other kind of videos where they're talking about body positivity ends up encouraging them, because they're in that space. When
Yeah.
they don't have that sort of a mindset to get up and do, lose weight, and that mentality itself is very difficult to to get into. That mentality itself is very difficult. That's why they see these sort of transformation. It actually, a lot of people don't know, it does not motivate them. It's very sad, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, people want the easy work without doing the hard work, but in
Yeah.
no circumstances that gonna ever gonna happen. I mean, take a look
Yeah.
at Nikocado Avocado. He was known as the craziest plus size dude ever, and then suddenly, recently, we just see his huge transformation. Like, he's completely hit a 180. Like, good for him,
Mm,
good for him. I'm not saying anything bad against him. It's really good that he actually decided to go for the hard work and totally change himself. So all props
mm,
to him. So let's move on to the next question, shall we? So
yeah.
this is a very important question. Now, of course, there are many dangerous trends. Like, we see a lot of dudes who, they're not even national level parkourers, and they are trying to, jump buildings, and that's a very
Yeah.
dangerous kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So now, my main concern is, like, why isn't these videos being taken down, or holding the influencer who's doing all of this accountable, because it puts them at risk, and it as well put the
Yeah.
audience at risk, because at least these guys are trained to do something, right?
Mm,
But the audience who are seeing this, they're like, hey, maybe I can do it, and they do it, and, like, a lot of accidents happen. Like, recently there was an entire blog post about a dude in US who tried to do the same thing as one of these influencers who climbs tall buildings just with chalk powder and his bare hands. He tried to do the same thing. He fell like 24 stories and he fell to his death, which is a
mm.
very sad thing. So what could be done about it? Why isn't these videos being taken down?
See, one thing we need to understand is, like, social media has such sheer scale of content, right? There
Yeah.
is so much content in social media. I think sitting and observing and looking at all of the, it's very difficult, to say, look at the more content moderation for each and every single video. That is very difficult, which is why now a lot of the social medias, they're using AI to detect it. Now
Yeah.
the problem in this is, we have seen, like we have seen like stories and Instagram comments. If you type something on your stories, or you maybe have put something on your comment, and that those kind of stories, those kind of comments will get deleted, because
Yeah.
they are directly, AI can directly detect that these are, these are comments, these are stories that that is, which is not good, or it is very toxic, or sort of a comment, or it
Exactly.
is so they can detect that, but they cannot detect, let's say let's say a person who's riding a cycle, and they're putting out that content.
Yeah.
As they're doing the riskiest sort of, they're taking the riskiest sort of routes, for the content, for
Yeah.
putting out the video. And it is very aesthetic to look at it, right? And so because of that, it's getting so much engagement, it's getting so many views and likes. So seeing something like that, you are not seeing the physical risk of those sort of videos, which is why AI, cannot immediately detect that. And a lot of them also end up depending on, reporting users, reporting accounts, those sort of stuffs, which is
Yeah.
which is, if they also I mean, they don't completely depend on that, but those are also one of the things that they depend on. Some people's account end up getting deleted permanently because of these kind of reports, right? But if you see like some sort of videos, like people jumping from building to building, you see people doing some sort of these sort of physical stunts. They're not you can't figure it out, the physical risk that's going behind those kind of content, which is why they're not being taken down. These trends look very harmless to our eyes, right? But they are very risky. Like I remember this one reading about this one trend, about this one thing that became very famous, is this gender revealing trends
Oh yeah.
that became very famous. And I think I don't remember exactly what happened, but one of the, I think the mother or the father, they did the whole they used fire or flames or something like that to reveal the gender.
Hmm.
And towards the end, it and it's a trend that's already it's been done before. And it's the fire, the color of the fume or the fire, the smoke that reveals the gender. That ended up burning the face of one of the parents.
Oh,
So the you are not aesthetically, a blue or a blue or a purple color smoke will look so aesthetic, but these sort of trends you won't know what's going behind the scenes. So I think because you're not seeing how, the risk that's being taken in it, I think that is also one of the things. And also because I feel like it is engaging, right? In the end of the day, it is getting
yeah,
views, it's getting likes, it's getting good comments. It is boosting up, social media's trend. It is keeping social media very live. And I think something that reaches that sort of an engagement, I don't know, it being taken on it, you need to visually, if it is not, depicting some sort of a violence, AI won't detect it. But but we end up like, we also will not know, right? Like these sort of things that happen, we won't know when we see the reel. Later on, through some sort of a news or something, only we end up finding out, what actually happened. Like a lot of these cyclists also, they end up taking all these mountain routes to do it. And also they use that fisheye camera sort of say thing to for those videos. so
yeah.
it also looks so it also looks even more risky because of that sort of an angle.
Hmm.
And they do fall down, they do get hurt, they do hit trees. But the thing is, like, those sort of things, they do it on a regular basis. That's one thing people don't understand. Those people do it regularly. They have worked hours and hours on it, to
Yeah,
perfect that. And sometimes those sort of mistakes do happen, and but though they cannot be figured out. But people, like, for some people who don't do that sort of a stuff, they think it's insane. Why would someone do this for for reels? A lot of them just do this because they like to do it. They're putting this out content, just for fun, that sort of a thing. Like a lot of this, you might have heard of the story of this one guy who did cave diving. A lot of people don't know, but cave diving itself is a
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
People do that. It's like people like trekking and swimming. Cave diving is one thing. It's basically searching and discovering something that nobody else would have. That sort of fun. One guy ended up, getting into one of these caves, and he ended up getting stuck in that one of the holes. And they tried, and he ended up dying because of that. He couldn't, because he got stuck over there. And you're talking about someone who was stuck over there, and he was, and because of dehydration, because of starvation, and that's just the worst way to die. But this
Exactly.
is something he has done on a regular basis. This is something he has done every way. There are some these sort of, stuff that is very risky, and they know the risk and they're still willing to do the risks. But it's just when you look at, the when these sort of dangerous sort of stunts end up getting, going wrong, that's when it triggers people. But a lot
Yeah,
of them do, like jumping from the building, it's like 10 seconds, but they've worked hours and hours and hours on it. They don't stop, they don't immediately, start by jumping into a building. They,
yeah,
they work on it before, for it. So it does, these kind of dangerous stunts, people, it's similar to like how people would like to watch an action movie, right?
yeah.
You would like to watch an action movie, you would love to see a stunt, and you'll be blown away by that stunt. But if something like that is happening in real life, you're going to get really scared, right? That moment.
Exactly, exactly.
If you're going, yeah, like if you're going to see some sort of a car crash in real life, it's going to frighten you. But when you see that, in a video, you're not seeing the harm being done. You're just seeing the cyclist, doing some sort of a stunt. It's just visually so aesthetic to see that, it does just ends up getting the engagement.
Yeah. Now, of course, we know who Gavin Forrester is. And
Yeah.
recently, in an interview, he said, so he amassed over like 7 million TikTok views, and he has around 49,000 or 490,000 more. So he
Hmm.
said, then again, it could be more. So he said that kids care more about the likes on the screen than their safety. Now, of course, they would go out and, do really stupid things and, just to get views. And
Yeah.
then these kids will do whatever they need to get famous. So what are your thoughts on this statement exactly?
Actually, I am not very. I didn't know about it until you mentioned it. I just want to ask you: is he a old person? I just want to know that by any chance.
I mean, apparently he was one of the main people on TikTok, like way back. Like I'm talking about when TikTok came out, like maybe 2 years after that, then he started. I'm not sure exactly what he used to do. I think maybe some few prank videos or something like that. I'm not
But he's
sure.
a so he's a but he's a young person. He's a young guy only.
Right now he must be in his 30, 40s, I guess.
Okay, all right, okay. No, 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 I just wanted to know. Maybe no, I thought it's just like an old thing, looking at young people. They
No,
saw that
no,
and they know he wanted to say something. That's what I
no.
wanted to know. I think in the end of the day, I think those kind of videos, it's seeking validation, right? In the end of the day,
Yeah,
when especially for the Gen Z generation, they were born into the world of internet. They were born into for a lot of them, like when they were like really small. Facebook existed when a lot of them were like just like 9, 10. So,
yeah,
and when they are into such sort of a world they've entered, where they social media wasn't a new thing for them. It's something that already existed. So
exactly.
it ended up becoming a part of their lives, which is why the way they consume it, the way they look at social media is also very different. And I feel like these sort of like risky contents that people are putting out, people have done this before itself. The only thing is now they're putting out in social media has such level of mass networking that the
Yeah,
whole world sees it. I think that's where people and that's where people end up seeing, like, I mean, if you're talking about some stunts like biking and stuff, people have been doing this for years. Even before social media come out, they were doing that. But
yeah,
now because social media has come out, they're putting out those sort of videos and people think it's for views. But this is some, like I mentioned earlier, right? I think in the end of the day, the people are not doing this just for fun. These are people who, if we won't understand it, it's fun for them. That's the
yeah,
thing. Like, like if some sort of sport is fun for a person, like let's say basketball, if someone likes basketball, the other person may not like it, right? So one
yeah,
person may like bike, the other person may like cars. It's the same sort of a thing. I think it's just it's just some sort of an interest. It's, if someone liked bike stunts, I think it was a very niche sort of a taste. So a lot
yeah,
of them who like that sort of who like such sort of content, or who love watching bike stunts, they know that it's a very risky thing. They know that one. But when you're putting it in a world of social media where some people don't, they're not necessarily fans of those sort of stunts, and it
yeah,
is very, it's like triggering them, it's getting them very anxious, seeing them, it's getting them scared seeing such sort of videos. I think that's where it comes. Social media for me, I feel, I look at it as a platform where people are putting out content, and these are not a lot. Like, then the people who are putting these risky contents, they're not doing this, they're not like yesterday this, they're like, I want to do some risky content. They've been working hours and years on those sort of those sort of art. Like, a person who's been doing bike stunt, he has worked years on those stunts before he put it out on Instagram.
of
So
course.
they know the risk that they're taking, they know what they're doing. And but I think at a time it was something very niche. Now because everyone can see it, the ones who don't like it will find it very triggering. And I think that's when and but still, it will get a lot of views. It does get a lot of likes. Like I said, right, it's like a shock value will be there in these sort of videos, that people,
Yeah,
if they don't like it also, they'll end up watching it, and that gets a lot of likes and views. And I think people see that, the ones who are not interested in that sort of thing and see that, and they're like calling them crazy for even doing that for views and likes. They probably, if social media didn't exist, they probably would have still done that. I feel, I genuinely feel that
exactly.
they would have done all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a very neat, it is very risky. You can't say anything about it. Like anything, any sort of an activity that is physical is has its own risks. I mean, people who are into biking will know, like, the risk of bike accidents. And for someone
Exactly.
who's not into biking, they will find it crazy, right? But for someone
Yeah,
who's into biking will understand the sort of risks, and they won't. For them, it doesn't trigger them as much as it would trigger a non-bike fan. So that's how.
exactly.
I mean, that's how I look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
What do
no,
you
of course, is
what do you what do you say about it? Do you have anything to say for that?
so there's a lot of these influencers who have a lot of followings, and all of their videos are dedicated to a lot of kids, and
Hmm.
kids watching these people, act like complete buffoons on the internet, that is going to be a kind of a bad role model to look at. So, like, these guys, they're big streamers, okay? They make tons of money, they have tons of following, and of course they're a lot respected by their fans. I have no clue why, but okay. Now they invite other certain streamers which they have, certain, enmity with, and just to get a clip of like 15 to 30 seconds, or maybe 60 seconds if they're lucky, they will, willing to go through anything. And you just see these clips, like most of these guys are getting slapped, they're getting, they're fighting, they're like, having a verbal confrontation against a lot of people. And I don't know, for some reason that gets a lot more views than,
Mm,
channels that, want to, help you become a better person.
yeah.
Like, for example, a lot of motivational channels, a lot of, channels that are dedicated to, religion, dedicated to Christianity, like dedicated to Christ. And like, I'm so surprised, I'm really shocked. Like, so one of these streamers, like, his views are like around 200,000 or something in the first hour.
Mm,
And a preacher who's just, preaching the book of Revelations, if we take for example. So this is something which I just saw today morning, and he was preaching about the book of Revelations. That was like maybe around a minute. He was giving a very important time, and that has not even got like 5,000 likes, not even 5,000, and that has been on
mm,
for at least like a week. Yeah, almost a week. And that hasn't even got anything. And
mm,
that's it just really saddens me that the kind of generation we actually live in. So of course speaking about, likes, views and everything, that brings us to the final question now. Why is the algorithms of social media so fine tuned? It's extremely fine tuned in such a way that it makes people, who watch these reels and view all these posts, like, it
mm.
doesn't give them motivation, but it makes them less productive. Why
Yeah.
exactly is this?
Okay, time is going, so we can't get into details. But I'll just cut short and I'll just say what, whatever I have. So the thing, I think,
Yeah,
when it comes to algorithms, it is, in the end of the day, it's the main aim of algorithm is to maximize engagement and revenue. That is the whole
yeah,
point of algorithm. Trend, like I mentioned, trending is unpredictable. We don't know what will be coming to trend. So what is trending, what is getting more likes, more comments, more likes, more shares, they algorithm will end up pushing those sort of, content for users overall, who are also
yeah,
consuming that sort of content. They end up pushing those sort of videos as well. That's
yeah,
really, if you like something, algorithm will really figure out what you like, and it's a benefit for the user, it's a consumer itself who likes that sort of videos, and it's a benefit for them as well. So
yeah,
I want to just put, I want to just say one thing. Social media, I as much as people look at social media as a very negative thing, I don't look at social media as negative as other people look at it. It
yeah,
is very, but the thing is, social media can because it has such sort of a networking. When you're seeing other people do so many things, I think it can really put you in a bad place. I think that's what,
yeah,
that's the thing about social media. The algorithm does not understand human emotions. It does not understands, it just understands business model. It, that's what it prioritizes in the end of the day, over, what humans want. So I feel like, when you're watching some sort of a content, and when you're just constantly, you're getting distracted, when you're constantly scrolling through so many stuff, I think
yeah,
that's what will, and it's something, it's not like you're getting bored, you're really liking that sort of video. So what will take you, like some sort of a dopamine you're getting within just few seconds. And
yeah,
and in the end of the day, when you're seeing other people's, what they're doing, when you're seeing your peers doing something amazing, and I think those sort of things also really put you down and does not motivate you enough to get up and really do what you want. I think seeing that itself will really put them in a bad place. So that's why I always said, constantly looking at other people, what they're doing, you're just looking at the good side. But they
yeah,
themselves probably are having their struggles like each and every one of us, but they don't show that. I think seeing all that also demotivates them. It does not make them to get up and do what they want. But in the end of the day, like I said, social media completely depends on how we use it and how we handle it. Only we can handle, our level of consumption. I'm not someone who believes that social media can totally control people. It
Yeah,
can control you, but in the end of the day, it depends on how you end up, consuming it, and how you have to, get out of it. And if you want to, it depends on how you have the, with the willpower to get out of all of that, sort of cut those sort of distractions, and still get motivated. It is very difficult because of social media. When you have so many things, being seen, social media
yeah.
has made it difficult, to pursue what you want, to motivate, and do what you want. It's made it difficult, but I think that's the sort of the task, that's a sort of a challenge, I think, to cut those distractions and do what we want.
Of course, of course. Now, with that said, that officially brings us to the end of today's show. And a huge thank you to Johan for joining today's show and giving us this valuable information.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So remember, guys, we air on Mondays at 4:30 p.m. That's it. If you guys want to contribute to our topics, have any questions, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we're doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. And a huge thank you to our listeners for tuning into this edition of The Reality Bang, your weekly dose of youth power, brought to you by FEBA Online. This is RJ Johan. Hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next Monday. God bless you.